So we need to add separatrons, right? Is that it? Just separatrons? Yeah. Okay, so set a propulsion. Separatrons. Let's get times 4 symmetry going on. Put it right there. Oh, wait. Like that, and then just go Shift S and do it 4 times for 20 degrees, I guess. Seems pretty good, right? I don't think it will damage the. Oh, it might, but we don't really care about any lateral movement. Oh wait, what? If you press Command Z or Control Z or whatever you're using on Windows, I don't know. Whatever it is for undo, then it will just undo it, I guess. Although it might undo 2 things. It might not just undo 1. So as I was saying, we don't care about any lateral or vertical motion because we're already going to be moving downward after we disengage it. So all we need is about the movement. Reason why I had or lateral movement. The reason why I had it like angled slightly upward is so that I could get what would you call it? Oh yeah, so that I could get it to go, not just spin around, but yeah. So you don't want it to just be perfectly horizontal. You want it to be. If you put it on the nose cone, you can get it quite a bit better. So let's do it on the nose cone at about 45 degrees, right? So what's that? That's 90 right there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then it should be good, right? Although that's a bit off. Kilter, center, whatever. I don't know, where does kilter come from? Like, what kind of word is kilter? I know what it means and stuff, but like seriously? Doesn't even seem kind of like a word. So now I'm gonna actually copy the nose cone, just because it's easier to do, you know? Easier to copy the nose cone and put the nose cone on with the separatrons than to just put separatrons on in the exact same fashion as I got. So now you'll see you now have these separatrons with the decoupling stages. So it kind of smart for the AI. Yeah, so it did that, which is good. It knew that it wasn't just a rocket to go off at the same time as to go off after you decouple it. So now we're going to try and launch it. Hopefully now we can get it to work. I might be a little bit silent when we're launching off just because I got to do like mental checks and I don't really need to verbalize everything that I'm checking for as we're flying, really. I might be silent, and then once we get stable, then I might start talking. I don't know. So are you ready? T, shift all the way up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Let's open our resources up. I'm gonna turn this down just a tad so that I can talk and you won't hear me over the volume. So we're not gonna make our gravity turn until about 10 kilometers. If you still don't know the terminology that I'm using, unless I definitely realize that you won't know it, or I haven't talked about it. But like, if it's terminology that I have talked about, or I thought I've talked about, or it's common sense, or I think that you should know it, just search it up on like Wikipedia, or even like on dictionary.com. Search it on thesaurus. There's also a Kerbal Space Program wiki. I'm sure you could find that. So let's try the Separatrons. See, it works pretty well. I think they might have given the Separatrons a boost. Or maybe these things are just really light when they do it. So, now if you look, they're basically kind of like planes. Now, they definitely form an almost perfect circle, although it's not completely perfect because I'm actually not sure exactly why. But it's not completely perfect. So, you see, I'm losing aptitude. So, I totally should have, I was kind of wasting fuel there. If this doesn't make it, then I'll just redo that again. What happened was I wasn't paying attention that I needed this because this didn't have enough thrust. That looks kind of cool. It looks like these things are like steaming now. And you think it to overheat it, but it's not really overheating it. If it does get to overheating it, then it will overheat. So I'm gonna actually switch these stages just because this is gonna run out just before that is, I think. If it doesn't, then I'll switch it back. Let's see. Which one's gonna run out first? Oh, I guess solid fuel ran out first. And then lower stage runs out right now. And then keep going. Okay, let's check our map. Bring that up so we know what's going on with our orientation. 70 is space, that was 52. Look how nice of a rocket this is. So I think this is enough to land on the moon. It's so really easy to get back to Kerbin. It's like ridiculous. It's not like incredibly easy, but it's so much easier than basically everything else. Okay, so now we're gonna stop that at 100. At 150, I'm just gonna press X to cut it. Okay, so now just going completely horizontally, and just before the apoapsis, add maneuver. Although it doesn't really let me do it at a correct angle, so I'm not actually going to use the. Well, no, I will at the apoapsis. I'll add a maneuver at the apoapsis, but I'll make it, but I'm probably not going to use it. You know. So add maneuver at the apoapsis. Okay, that's about good. Just so that I get a feel of what it should be about at. So now it's music, so I'm going to turn this back up again. There we go. They should, they don't do it yet, but they should allow you to have, or turn off sound in space. Like, the ladders, I don't think no longer make noise in space, but your engines still do. But I guess maybe you'd be able to hear your engines. Maybe you're hearing it from the inside of the cockpit, or maybe you would be able to hear it because of slight amounts of fluids and solid matter, I guess, too. But fluids that you can hear through. So I guess so. We're gonna start burning. Think about now. So yeah. So let's burn when that hits 1 minute, because it's gonna take us like 1:14, and we want to start about halfway through before it tells us to start. You should really do the calculus and measure it out, because they tell you to start burning then. If your burn is instant, then to burn right then. But if it takes time, then it changes it a little bit. So maybe the game should do the calculus and figure out what time to actually start, depending upon how long you're burning for. But I don't know, maybe they won't. So if I check my map, we can see that this is actually extending pretty well. So yeah, the farther away from the planet you are, the easier it is to adjust your periapsis. However, the closer to your periapsis you are, the closer to the planet you are, the easier it is to adjust your apoapsis. It's a bit weird. I don't know. If you want to adjust your rocket, then you need to adjust or adjust one of your points, and you need to adjust it at the opposite point. Looks cool how like squarish rocket is. It's cool. We're gonna continue our thrust. Going sick, and now we're gonna cut it. We're gonna cut it because if you look here, it's 170 and that's 80. So now we have a stable orbit. Won't fall out of it. So I'm gonna close off our maneuver. And then at apoapsis, I'm going to add another maneuver. So if I increase, or if I go prograde, burn prograde, you see the orange dotted line is what my orbit will be after I do it. Of course, I told you that. So you see here as we approach near here. So you got to make kind of a guesstimate of where the moon will be if you take that path. So if I take this path, and I eventually be slowing down as I get farther away, where would the moon be if the moon's going at a constant speed? You just kind of guess it, and anywhere along here, you'll get to there. So I guessed it pretty well, and so what this means is that after I go through the orange, then I'm going to get a slingshot off the moon, and then I'll have this green orbit after the slingshot. So I can increase it a little bit and see how my slingshot would increase my green orbit. And you see it goes all the way out to the orbit of Minmus. Now it's not perfectly aligned, but I could get this at like near focal point. So I right here and add another maneuver and to like make it a bit more aligned with Minmus. Maybe try and get into Minmus orbit. I don't know. Now you see this one actually right here puts me back in. So I follow this orange to the purple, to the green, to the red, to the blue, and then this blue is going to be another moon encounter, and then around this orange circle. So that's kind of cool, but I'm not going to do that. So I could just do this kind of stuff and make myself, so basically this is using a slingshot off the moon to propel myself to a point where then I can make myself interact with Minmus. So oftentimes when I go for the moon, I end up just getting this pretty easily. So then I just go for Minmus, because Minmus is much easier to land on. So I haven't actually landed on the moon that many times. I always land a ton on Minmus. So this is kind of complicated to get, but I basically slingshot off the moon, go around here, and right here I burn, so then I do this, and then I get off in the Minmus slingshot, and then I have that afterward. But if I just get rid of that, and zoom back in, because we're about to approach this, so we should choose what we're going to do soon. So I want to make it, I want to perhaps be able to get an orbit around the moon. So the faster I make it go, the difference I'll get it. So this periapsis is how close I get to the moon when I'm slingshotting. I want that to be preferably around maybe 500,000 or less in terms of meters. This means that I'm actually going to land on the moon. Now it shows the path afterward, which is an escape from this from the Kerbal system, but it actually just collided into the moon right here. If there's no periapsis, it means that you collide into it, although it will still mark out the path as if the moon wasn't there, but the gravity source was, and you didn't fall into an infinite well, because there is no infinite gravity wells. So I want to get this down, so to about, let's get that down to, what's that? It's pretty good, right? That's going to be a, we're going around that way, and then we'll be going around that way. I want the other way around. Okay. So I want that. Okay. So now we go to my map, And I'm gonna start burning now because it's gonna want me to burn now if I'm going to make it. I need to burn in 27 seconds. So you see, the burn's only gonna take me like 18 or so seconds. So line it up with the blue, turn my SAS, or I could have just kept my SAS on the whole time, I guess. Go to the map and begin. You see my blue orbit. When my blue orbit gets this orange orbit, then that's gonna what happen. That's what is going to be what will happen. But you see, we already ran out of fuel. So this is gonna remain in orbit until something happens. Maybe it decays. It probably won't because it's not close enough to the moon to really decay from it. So you see, this exponentially actually increases. Your apoapsis height will increase exponentially the longer you burn, the faster you increase it. See, just a change in 100 meters per second changes my orbit from like there to there, whereas before it was like from there to there with like 2,000. So you see, it just keeps getting higher and more exponential, and then I'm just going to decrease my throttle down, and right about there. That's not. I didn't want that pink orbit, and I'm not going to get it. I just needed to orient myself correctly to the blue again, and then after burning for a little bit, I will achieve. This orbit. What's that periapsis at? Okay, let's cut it. Periapsis of 800,000. That's good. And now let's go and close that off. So you see now, what's going to happen is we're going to follow the blue, get on the orange, and then go around the purple. Up here you can mark what it is, mark what your thing is, mark your flags, mark your EVAs, mark your landers, ships, and stuff. I'll go into that more detail. So if we can see our debris, yeah, our debris is right here. Okay, 32 kilometers away. Okay. It's in an orbit. I don't know if you can see its orbit. Can you? No. Maybe we're too close to it. I don't know. Here we are. I'm not sure. Maybe it doesn't show debris. I don't know. Okay, so now if I actually let this just play out, you see here, it would take 6 hours, 54 minutes, and 44 seconds of real time. So I would be waiting at this computer to make a 7-hour video if I just let it run. It'd be nice though. It'd be pretty cool when I speed up the whole thing. But the period and comma keys, or I guess they're the horizontal caret keys, I guess. Although you don't have to press shift to do it. Period will increase your flow of time by 5 times. So now that 7 hours is now like 1 hour 20 minutes. This 10 times and 7 hours is now I don't know what's that, like probably 40 minutes. 50 times is now going to be 12 minutes. No, not 12 minutes. It's going to be like 1 minute. But you see, we're slowly, our velocity is slowing down. Now, it looks pretty fast, because if I counted like it changes about 50 meters per second every second that I'm counting it, but this is at 50 times speed, so it's 1 meter per second, like every second. So if I slow it down, you see it's hardly slowing down. It's not slowing down that much. Do 50 times, yeah, it takes about a couple minutes. Because I'm going up this fast now, but then I'll get slower, and slower. So yeah, 12 minutes is about right. 100 times is about 6 minutes. 10,000 times is about 10 seconds. Or 60, yeah, about 10 seconds. You can see already here that was orbiting around the whole area. And then you could also see that the planet. So you see the K orbiter 1 is orbiting around Kerbin as I'm traveling away from it, and the Kerbin is spinning as I'm traveling away from it. So if I go to the map, look back at Kerbin, there Kerbin is, there's the moon. You see I'm actually getting closer to it. You can actually see the difference. It's slightly larger. Speed up a bit. And so I get to about here. And, so now if I just let this play, it would still take another 50 minutes because I'm moving at 250 meters per second, and that's so slow compared to this. This is a what? Like if it takes 50 minutes, say an hour, 250 meters per second. That's about let's say 3,500. That's about what? Maybe 3,500 times 250, somewhere in the 100,000 meters. So they're like 100 kilometers away or so. It's pretty far. 100 kilometers is pretty far. It's like what? 100 kilometers is like 66 miles or so. And 7.7 meters per second is a mile per hour, somewhere about there. So be about maybe 10 minutes. I don't know. So it's probably a bit longer. So I speed it up 100 times. It's going to take about 4 minutes. Okay, so if you look here, when I hover over this, you see a blue dot up here. I can't point at it. It's up. It's right here, and that blue dot is when I'm here in 14 minutes 2 seconds. This white dot will be at that blue dot. So just and this orange dot right here is where the moon will be when I'm here in 3 hours 40 minutes 18 seconds. I don't know why the orange dot shows it and the blue dot doesn't. When maybe I'm so close to the blue dot, it's not showing it when I hover over it, or it doesn't show it unless I hover over it, and here it's showing it even if I do hover over it. That's just so that you know where it is. And I'm not gonna do this. Well, I am gonna follow this orbit, but that's not what it's gonna look like. What it's gonna look like is the moon's gonna be here. I'm gonna be here. I'm going to be wrapping around the moon like this, and then the moon's going to be about here when I'm here, and then so forth. So I'll speed up these 13 minutes. I apologize if I don't really talk for the next couple minutes. I have to kind of get used to it, or check stuff. So in 2 minutes, we're going to be sucked into the gravity field of the moon. So we're still in the gravity of Kerbin. We're still in the gravity, but in 2 minutes, the gravity of the moon is actually going to be stronger than Kerbin, which is kind of weird. How just all abruptly your gravity towards the moon more dominantly than the planet. Although it doesn't feel abrupt, but it's abrupt how the numbers get so close. Like this is just above that one at 1 second before, and then right after this is above that one. Which is kind of cool, I guess. It would be more cool if it was abrupt. So 1 minute, and now it's going to be about 10 seconds. And 15 seconds now. So in a couple seconds, this is going to, that moon is going to be right below me. Just as, see how Kerbin's below me? It's because I'm in Kerbin's gravity field, but right when I pass over in a couple seconds, it's going to be below me. So what's that, like 5? There we go. See, now I'm right below the moon. Got a little bit of lag, just because it had to measure the G-forces and the gravity and stuff. So now that's below us instead of Kerbin. So if I go to the map, the closest we're gonna get is here. So I'm actually going slower than the moon, right? Alright, yeah. So what this means is that I'm going slower than the moon, so much slower than the moon that the moon's actually going to pass in front of me, and I'm going to end up falling behind it. But I don't want to fall in front of it, so I'm actually going to change my velocity just has to increase by about 200 meters per second, and then I'll be faster than the moon. I'll be able to go in front of it. So if I click here, add maneuver, and I go increase my speed, you see I can make an orbit, or this will flip around. This thing doesn't really know what to do when it gets close to a. Okay. It doesn't know what really to do when it gets close to things. So then, wait, where is this? Oh. I guess. Won't let me select it. Okay, come on, click on that. I want to add a maneuver to this. Oh, didn't mean to do that. So switch back over to. Okay, I guess we'll have to orbit it that way. It doesn't really matter orbiting the opposite direction as I was orbiting that. Although I believe in Einstein, if this used Einstein gravity, it is Newtonian gravity, but if it used Einstein gravity, then my orbit would probably decay and it'd end up falling into the planet. Now, of course, it would decay anyways, but it would decay probably faster, twice as fast, so. Which is why Venus is going the opposite direction, spinning the opposite direction as all the other planets are. So the sun sets in the east on Venus. It's kind of cool. The sun rises on the west. But that was because an asteroid hit it at just the right angle to make it just spin the other direction, which is crazy. But it's slowing down every so often. Which is why now that the day on Venus is longer than a year. So you actually go around the sun quicker than Venus spins around the sun. And it will keep getting, and Venus's day will keep getting longer and longer and longer and longer until it starts spinning the other direction. And the sun sets in the west and rises in the east. And it'll just keep doing that for like a while. And then we'll get faster and faster and faster, and eventually it will get to about the speed of Earth's day, somewhere in between the speed of Earth's day and the speed of Mercury's day. So a couple, probably million years ago, Venus. I like how you can see the orbit of Gilly, but you can't see anything else. You only see the orbit of Gilly. It's weird. I think it's a glitch or something. It might just be that it's so close to me right now, and I'm zoomed in so much that I can see it. You know. Or no, maybe not. Okay, so I was talking about stuff. You can kind of see your orbit around the moon a bit easier without the orbit of the moon. You can see it's like that, but you need to see that. So at our periapsis of our lunar what's it called? When you go around. How am I forgetting the name of it? It's slingshot. So at the periapsis of our slingshot, you want to retrograde, burn retrograde, and you see our we have an orbit now. Now this is a 2,000,000 kilometer high orbit. Doesn't seem that big, right? 2,000 kilometers compared to like the moon orbits at 11,000 kilometers. So that if you do compare it, it's kind of big because it's 2,000,000 meters. It's too close. Here you'll probably get sucked into Kerbal's gravity. It's not showing you that because it doesn't actually. When you have a stable orbit and it doesn't think that you're intending to switch over into that orbit, it won't show it. So it's not going to show that Kerbal. If you have an orbit like this, and it doesn't think that you're intending on colliding or getting into orbit with the moon, it won't tell you until the orbit that you will get into, the orbit of the moon. So this is too far away from the center of the moon, so we'd actually get sucked into Kerbal's orbit. So we want to lower the apoapsis, which will keep lowering until it becomes a periapsis, like just there. They switched around, and now that's at 200 kilometers. I want to make it at about 100 kilometers. Maybe. Let's make it 50 kilometers. Just because. I believe the lowest you can get to the moon in a stable orbit is about 2,000 kilometers, because you eventually get to the point where the mountains of the moon will hit you. Like, the mountains on the moon can exceed 2,000 kilometers from the average surface, because it's craters and mountains and stuff. 2 kilometers isn't very high compared to some things. Like Mount Everest is what, like, it's either 5 kilometers high or 5 miles, which makes it like 7 kilometers high. Let's speed this up. Okay. And right now, we'll so it's still going to take us 5 minutes, and we're pretty close to that. So let's orient ourselves to the blue. See right here, which if you look, it's also on the retrograde, which makes sense because we're gonna retrograde. We're going to burn retrograde when we get right there. So when we get right there, right where we're gonna burn, in 5 minutes 39 seconds, these two will be exactly overlapped, which is really cool. But it makes perfect sense. So let's speed it up a little. I like how that looks like it's just a line going through the moon. So that proves that you can actually get back into orbit on the moon. Yeah. Proves that you can get back to hit the moon. So we're going to I keep saying but we're going to be burning. Keep saying again. Almost there. Almost. We should burn right in a couple seconds. And begin burning now. It's a little late, but it's probably not going to change much. See the green, or the blue, I mean. Curling, 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 and then right around there it just does an instant curl. Because once you, so lower that. Once you get your apoapsis to exactly opposite where you are, just, like, literally just an infinitely small distance away, of course, granted that there's no gravity like anywhere else, instantly go around and form four 4 parabolas. Parabola, 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 or hyperbola, hyperbola. So you just keep continuing your burn as you want to lower it. And cut it. Let's burn a little bit more. And cut. Okay. So now you want to close that. And then you just want to wait until you get around to your periapsis. And then as you approach it, slow down a bit. So when you get to your periapsis, so if you're facing retrograde at your apoapsis, when you get around to your periapsis, you'll be facing prograde. If you're facing prograde at your apoapsis, when you get to your periapsis, you'll be facing retrograde at your periapsis. It's cool. Okay. So now I want to face my rocket on retrograde. Okay. And now, right, we get up to here. So now I'm going to want to turn on my thrusters and just decrease them. So sometimes if your thrusters are pretty low and you're in map mode, you can't hear them. But you can hear them here as well. Or there. You just want to decrease this till this gets to 50 kilometers, 300, 250, 200. Let's stop at 150, just so that we can conserve on fuel. You know, because I only have half a tank, and sure, it might be enough to land. So the moon apparently has been completely remodeled since 0.2. It's 0.21 right now, of course. Not like completely remodeled, but it looks different, and it definitely does. I can see a lot more basalt, which is darker areas. And it seems like there's quite a few less craters, maybe. Maybe the craters are just harder to see, I guess. But so as I'm approaching, I'm still approaching periapsis. I'm not there yet. And so, yeah, I'm falling. You see, my vertical speed is only 10 meters per second, which means that from here, yeah, okay, so I'm falling pretty fast. What does my gravioli detector say? Oh, let's turn them on. Okay, 1.6 meters per second squared. So I fall 1 meter in 1 second, or half a meter in 1 second, and then I fall 1 meter, and then and so I'd be traveling 1.5 meters per second, then be traveling at 3.5 meters per second, then 4.5 meters per second, or not 4.5, then yeah, after whatever, you know, I did that wrong because I'm kind of focusing on the rocket. So we just approached our periapsis at 47818. We check here, 47819, but whatever. It went down to 8, but we just rounded up in the map screen. So the reason why I didn't get it is a 50-50. I did 50-150 because when I'm coming in this way, I'm gonna start burning here, retrograde burning here. So I descend a bit more vertically, because if I was at 2,000, then I'd have a lot to descend horizontally. So I'm just going to keep speeding this up, and you can have a nice view of the moon. Get far away. come back around again. So right here is when we're going to start. So we're going to start right now. I'm going to face retrograde. Are we going at 1 times? Why can't I? Oh, I can control. Oh, I'm out of electric charge because my scientific equipment. Really? Okay, whatever. There you go. So I didn't mean to extend that, but it doesn't really matter. But we do need to extend the those because apparently our scientific equipment does run down battery. Although I guess it just doesn't say it. So let's speed it up. We can't retract the commutron for some crazy reason. I don't know why it doesn't let you do that. There's the moon or Kerbal. That looks pretty cool. Do you guys want to go on EVA? Sure, we'll go on EVA, I guess. Let's speed it up. Get to the phone server. Okay. So let's close down our solar panels. So our commutron will not retract. It doesn't ever retract, I don't think, ever. So let's go on EVA, shall we? Let's click go. I'll put on auto so that we can. Auto's kind of nice, I guess, sometimes. So let's go through the camera mode. So there's free, which is just the object you're orbiting is below you. There's let's see. The next one is orbital, which is the object that you're orbiting is right next to you. There's chase, which is you're always facing you, kind of. It's a bit weird. Like if you turn, or I don't think it works on EVA very well, but I know that if you turn your rocket, your entire view will change. And then there's auto, which just swaps sometimes depending on what you're doing. And and then we're back to free. So let's just keep it on free, and then let's go back in the rocket. I don't want to screw anything up. Let's get over here. I forget if I went over this. I probably did. So it's WASD, W, S, A, and D are dependent upon what direction you're looking. So it's not what direction you're oriented. It's what direction your camera is oriented. And then there's also shift to go up and control to go down. You press R to activate your jetpack. So let's go around once more. Let's see. So our resources are going down. So let's just keep our solar panels out, I guess. I'm not really sure what it's using. Maybe the I don't know. Maybe the thing does use it. So we're coming around again. When you have it non-physical time warp on. Oh, never mind. I guess never mind. Yeah, never mind. I thought it was something else. Sorry, we just I thought when you have non-physical time warp on, the sun, the lack of sunlight doesn't affect your solar panels, but it does. We just weren't in complete darkness for some crazy reason. We're still getting sun when I thought we weren't, or it didn't look like we were. So where are we now? We're approaching this way. So we want to point retrograde. Sorry, it's not very climactic. Okay. And speed it up just a tad. So we get to about here. Or, yeah, right there. That's good. Okay. So now we want to reorient to retrograde. And we want to fire our thrusters. So we want our vertical velocity to equal we want our vertical odometer to equal our speedometer, which means that we have no lateral motion, just vertical, which means that it'll be easy to descend. So I'm taking it slow. I'm not using that much fuel because I don't need to use that much fuel. Because if you just use all your fuel now and come to a halt and you just fall straight down, and all your movement is vertical, which is a bit more difficult than going at an angle. Going at an angle to slow down is actually easier than going straight up, which is kind of weird, but it's how vectors work. If you add up how much force is going into, if you have a force going at a 45-degree angle, your forces combined are actually going to be larger than what your force is. But like if you just add up the horizontal and vertical forces, they're different. But that if you add them up Pythagorically or whatever, geometrically, then they are equal. But they affect your vertical and horizontal differently, which is kind of cool. So we want to reorient onto retrograde, because as we burn, our orbit changes, and therefore our retrograde changes, but our rocket doesn't with it. Because your rocket only changes as you move around the planet, but we're not moving around the planet. So now I'll just cut it really and just wait till we get to about probably 15 kilometers, 40, 35, 30. Okay, maybe we'll do it right here at 25, because we seem to be coming in pretty fast. And maybe the surface of the moon is a bit higher than 15 kilometers. Maybe 20 is good, I guess. So let's do that. It looks cool how when you're actually facing retrograde, because it looks like you really are doing a nice descent. Question I should ask: have any of you seen the new Star Trek movie? What? This isn't a time to talk about Star Trek. Firstly, the new Star Trek movie, Star Trek Into Darkness, which is basically a remake of Star Trek 2. It's kind of a spoiler. Not really. Probably all of you who like science stuff have already watched it. Unless you refuse to only watch it on like Blu-ray or something. It doesn't make sense because film is like the highest quality you can ever get, really. But it's not really a spoiler. I wouldn't consider it a spoiler being a remake. You people probably already talked about that. About 10,000. I'll turn this back 10 kilometers. Put this back on. Just slowly though. And then so Star Trek Into Darkness, it was really good. I liked it. I really liked it. It did come out quite a bit ago though. I really liked the intro. That was enjoyable. We increased our thrust. Increase it quite a bit more. Turn on the lights. Put down our gear. Turn down our throttle. And turn on our RCS. If you do the IJK, I'll explain this later, but you can use the whoa. You can use your certain keys to just adjust your lateral movement with RCS. It's pretty cool. So I'm keeping it adjust and We touch down and cut that power. We successfully have landed on the moon. It looks like our nozzle is kind of in the ground a little. Or it might be just below. I don't know. I think it's in the ground. Yeah, it is. But it doesn't really matter. So we've successfully landed. Let's deploy our solar panels. Or for the last time. Turn off RCS. And I guess SAS, but maybe we should keep SAS on. And so you can see it's 0.16 Gs pressure in vacuum. Technically, you're not in a vacuum in outer space. It's like about an atom per 2 centimeters, which is basically a vacuum, but it's not perfect. And on the moon, there's an atmosphere on the moon, although you really, really cannot see it. The atmosphere is probably maybe 1 kilometer thick, and it's probably like really heavy elements like radon and probably quite a lot of noble gases, or I call them noble elements because unobtainium element 118 is not a gas. Of course, it's undetermined, but it's accepted to be a solid, and or I guess you could call it a synthetic. It's more solid than gaseous, so is the Kerbin setting or rising? I hope it's rising. Oh, it's not moving. Oh, I forgot. Oh, we're totally locked with it. I forgot about that. So you can see Kerbin's not moving. It's because we're always facing the same spot forever. That's cool. That's what it would look like on the moon in real life. So let's extend the ladder on EVA. Oh man. One small step from Kerbin. One giant leap for Kerbin kind. Jump. You know how you can jump. You can jump 6 times. I wish you could do that. Or I wish I could go to the moon to do that. That'd be so much fun. Jebediah is smiling. He's so happy. You're gonna plant a flag. Let's call this. See, it's not a crater, so let's call it a. What's the side of a crater called? It's usually called like a. It's kind of like a plateau. So what do you want to call this? Call this. I don't really want to call it Jebediah Plateau, but we will. Jebediah Plateau. There we go. Jebediah Plateau. Kerbal Space Program. Site name: Jebediah Plateau. I think it's how you spell plateau. I'm not sure. Okay, I don't want to do any plaque, whatever, or plague, plaque. Okay, let's get around the flag. So let's go. Lunar aerobics as we end the episode. Okay, and can just take off from the moon with your jetpack. So here we end the episode on the moon. Jebediah has successfully made the first flight to the moon. Next episode, we'll oh yeah, he can moonwalk. Okay, so next episode, let's get to the let's turn off our jetpack and get over to the ladder. Next episode, well, actually no, I'll get off. So next episode, what will we do? Thinking either Minmus or docking. Probably end up being docking. No, probably Minmus. So next episode, we'll either bring another one to the moon, bring another one to Minmus. End it off here. Sight can never be forgotten. A sight, an image that will always be in Kerman kind. Bye.